Welcome to the Achieve Results Now podcast, the podcast that gives you immediate actions you can take to start seeing life-shifting results now. Hey everybody, welcome to the Achieve Results Now podcast. This is Mark Cardone.
And Theron Feidt.
So I'm really excited about today's podcast because on the Achieve Results Now podcast, we talk a lot about actions, plans, goal setting, all the things that help us to achieve results. But something we don't focus on nearly enough is what do we do when we start achieving things?
And we feel great after achieving things. But then if we only achieve one thing and then that's it, that's not good.
No.
We want to continue. To be successful in life, it's a series of successes that go on from day to week to month to year. And so we need to make sure that we are doing that. And so we're going to specifically talk about what do you do afterwards, like you said. How do I continue my success? How do I keep going so I can really achieve something big? Because oftentimes, really big goals, all little goals come before that, right?
Yeah.
So you have to achieve all those little goals in order to get the bigger goal. So this will also help you with long-term goal achievement.
Yep. And I think recognizing those smaller goals is important, right? Because I think it's pretty often where we set a goal to lose 50 pounds, we lose 2 pounds, and we're like, meh, right? It's not that big a deal, but it is, right? Because I know scales fluctuate and things change, but
Sure.
The actions you took created a win. So
Right.
let's recognize that and do the things that we're going to do. And I think it's important to talk about, we're achievers, but what do normal people do? Right? What do normal people do when they achieve a goal? And I love talking about this because most people, when they achieve a goal, they stop, even if it's a smaller goal along the pathway. We tend to get comfortable when we start to achieve things, and then we stop the things that got us there.
Right.
And then we really start to run into problems, and that's when we see people yo-yo, right? That's when we see businesses start to struggle. That's when we see relationships start to fail. It's when we get to the place we wanted to be, and then we just don't know where to go from there.
Well, it's almost like you graduate from high school and then you stop and you think your learning is done.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been taught, and I try to do, is learning should be lifelong.
Yeah.
And I believe in learning daily and really making some progress into learning in many areas of life, because there's a lot to learn. There's so much out there, and we've talked about that quite a bit on podcasts. But that's another thing. It doesn't have to be college. It can be a trade school. It can be you can do a lot of stuff on YouTube and learn a lot of things. So, but it's good for your mind. And so I think anybody that's successful understands the importance of education, whatever type that falls into. Doesn't have to be formal. However, in all goals, like I said before, in order to achieve big goals, wowing goals, you need to have a lot of successful goals leading to that. And what we're going to talk about, is going to help you keep the momentum going.
I love that. 100%. And, I think we can get right into it, but, starting with the first step, so, you've achieved a small, large, whatever goal, but I think the first thing, and we talk about this at the dojo all the time, is to reward yourself.
Right.
It's that celebration. It's the reward, so that you have some kind of a payout at the end of all the hard work.
So if your goal is to lose 10 pounds in a month, and at the end of the week you lost 2 pounds, so you're close, maybe let's say 2.5, and then you're right on track.
Yeah.
And your celebration is a big piece of cake and ice cream. That might not be the kind of celebration you want to have. So what we're talking about is you want to reward yourself, but you want to make sure you reward yourself that's not going to throw your goal off from that continuous achievement. But you do need to anchor that achievement in. So think of something that is enjoyable, and it certainly doesn't have to be weight loss, but we're just talking about really anything is really should feel good about your accomplishments, that you moved in the right direction, that you improved yourself in some way. And even the fact that you recognize that, and that, maybe you give yourself a little bit of a break, or you watch a little bit more TV for a little longer, or you watch whatever it is.
Yeah.
Think of how you can reward yourself. And that's also good for incentive too. So setting yourself up as you're achieving your goal is, if I do this, then I get that. That's also a good way to keep yourself motivated.
I have a good friend who's a personal trainer, and he always says, it's better to reward yourself with a smaller size t-shirt than
Ah,
with a
nice.
bigger piece of pizza.
That's
And I
awesome.
said I go, that's a great
That's
analogy,
incredible.
right? Thinking about rewarding yourself. I think exactly what you said. I think it's good to think about positive rewards, positive
Right.
reinforcements, and the things that go along with it. But it's
Yeah.
important to, throw your hand up in the air and pat yourself on the back,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
you're working hard, you're seeing results.
Hmm.
Way to go.
Yes. Yep, definitely. So the first one is definitely reward, and it's all about anchoring the feelings so that way you want more of it. The second one is, and this is something that I don't think people understand the importance of, and that's recharge. So recharging your batteries, and we all know about batteries now that they need to be recharged. They do deplenish after a while, and so when you're achieving something, especially something big, and let's say you worked 6 months at something, so that's a medium term goal. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily a long term goal, but it's definitely not something you can accomplish in 3 days. There should be something you might have to recharge your batteries a little bit. So that doesn't mean that you take another. So it took you 6 months to get it, so you're going to take 6 months off. That's not what we're talking about. But maybe after that achievement, you go on vacation, or maybe you do just a 3 day little mini vacation, or maybe
Hmm.
you just do a 1 day. Whatever it is, think about how you can recharge, because that could be also part of the reward of what we said, number one, but also the recharge of is you need to make sure that you're feeding your body right, that you're resting properly. But also the mental side
Yeah.
is sometimes we need a little recharging with.
Absolutely. And I think that's what people leave out is the mental
Yep.
side. And I think it's important to note that, sometimes you can continue the activity on a smaller scale as part of recharging.
Sure.
So because I think sometimes we do take longer breaks depending on how intense the goal was, right? How
Hmm.
hard we had to work to get to the goal, how large of an achievement it was. It's okay to, go from working out 4 days a week to go to working out 2 days a week as part of your recharge period.
Right.
Not as, maybe instead of an hour, doing a half hour at the gym or on
Hmm.
the treadmill.
Yeah.
So you're staying active, but you're allowing your mind and your body that time to just kind of recharge the battery in between things. And this is that funny stage where we achieve something, we're not really working for anything, but we're resting.
Yep.
But sometimes if you stop completely, you can really have that shell shock when you
Right.
start to get back into it.
Yeah, I like active rest. When I was doing a lot of weightlifting, I know one of the things that we did, whether I did it on myself with myself or with a partner, we always talked about active rest, and that meant that we were doing something in between our sets. We were
Yeah.
walking around. Maybe we were supersetting and doing a different muscle, but we're resting the main muscle that we're working. So that active rest, I think that's very important that we're working towards. So that way you don't lose total momentum. I think sometimes a vacation is awesome, but if it's too long, then you can really get totally out of it, and then
Yeah.
it's difficult to get restarted again. So you
Yep.
have to know yourself and know the balance. But the mental part, I think, is something that really should be done every day.
Yeah.
Recharging your battery every day. Take some time alone, whether it's in the middle of the day, like I like to do, or it's at the end of the day. But I think it's important that you have a little alone time, whether you're reflecting, you're meditating, you're taking a power nap, whatever it is. But that's part of my recharging every day is my now sometimes I call it a siesta because it might be longer than 20 minutes. But I like my mid afternoon. That way, it's something that I
Yeah.
can really make sure that the end of the night, where I really have to be up for classes because of the schedule, that I have energy.
Yeah.
And I think at the dojo, you've never seen me where I'm just low energy and wow, he doesn't seem like he wants to be here. I mean, that's never happened. I've
Yeah.
never seen it with you, and you've never seen it with me. But that's because I think we recharge, so we're
Yeah.
ready for that
Right.
evening.
And I mean, I've had kick butt business years, and I've had business years where I was happy. I was like surviving was the achievement, right? I've had both of
Yeah,
those
for
things.
sure.
And I think everybody has. And I think when at the end of the year when I go on my vacation, I don't just completely stop, because if I'm gone for 4 or 5 days, as much as I have other people handling stuff and I'm delegating, I'm doing all the things, if I'm not at least spending 5 minutes a day cleaning out the email and making sure that things are running,
Yeah,
right? When I get back on day five, I'm going to hit a brick wall,
right.
and I'm going to have to start sprinting to catch up. So
Yep,
I think it's okay during the recharge. You want to get enough rest. You want to make sure that you're doing the things to, kind of cool off after the achievement, but you don't want to stop cold because I think
right.
that's just a recipe for having a tough time getting going again.
And I think if you need that much, like you need to shut off totally, and I don't mean for a day, I mean
Yeah.
for a whole week and
Yeah.
not. I think you need to kind of look at your career choice and
Yeah.
really,
You don't
really
like it.
think about, okay, is this really for me? Is this really healthy?
Yeah.
Is the money worth it? Because that oftentimes what people do. And when my daughter was looking and working towards a career and deciding what she was going to do, that's one thing I gave her a tip on. Is I said, yeah, you need money, and you need to have a certain amount of money um, to make sure your lifestyle is the way you want it. But it is your lifestyle that you also want to think of. You know, if
Yeah.
you don't like the people that you're working with, you don't like what you're doing, but the money's great, that's going to suck the soul out of you
Yeah.
eventually. You know, and that's not something that you want to do long term. If you know you're going to do it, just like a part-time job. Part-time jobs shouldn't be fun. They should be work. You know, these
Right.
kids that start off, it should be, tough to do, because that way that motivates you to get a better job,
Yeah.
not to have a job that you can, oh, it's an easy job and it's forever. So I think it all depends on the mindset of how long it's going to be,
Yeah.
also.
Yep. Absolutely. And then as we get into the last one, so we've talked about rewarding ourselves, we've talked about recharging the batteries, which
Yep.
is hugely important. But then we have to renew, right? We have to
Yep.
renew our goals. The quote, paraphrasing, go as far as you can see, and then when you get there, you can see a little bit further, right?
Yep.
You've gotten to where you are. Now it's time to cast the vision forward and figure out what's next.
Yes. Yeah. And oftentimes after you do the reward and the recharge, and why renew is afterwards is because that then you have a fresh set of eyes oftentimes. And if you were a little burnt out, now you're not. Now you can go after it a little bit more. But also helps you see things much clearer. And that's what
Yeah.
you want to have. You want to have a clear mind, a clear vision. And what you mentioned there is that quote is awesome. I mean, go as far as you can see, and when you get there, you'll be able to see further. And I think oftentimes when people are working towards a long-term goal, they forget that. They want to see. I want to see the whole road now.
Yeah.
Well, that's not how it works.
That's right.
And to give a boat analogy, if you're on the ocean and you're going, across the ocean, well, you can't see the other side. I mean, even though the claim is the Earth is flat, you cannot see the other side
Right.
because of the horizon.
Yeah.
So you go a little further now, you can see it. And so many times our long term goals are much like that.
And I think it's interesting because like when I think about that quote, I used to think about, okay, like when I'm running and I'm exhausted, I'm gonna make it to that point and then I
Yeah.
can see the next part of
Yes.
road. But what I've learned in, like, especially in business, is a lot of times the road changes, right?
Sure.
Like the goal is to get to, the long-term goal is to get all the way across the river,
Hmm.
but you get halfway there and then you go, you know what, I'm sailing by myself. Maybe I want to hire somebody, maybe I want to do something
Right.
different, so it's okay to take that pause
Right.
and during that kind of recharge time, start to think, okay, what else? Like instead of just
Right.
keeping on the straight line,
Right.
now that I'm here, what
Hmm.
else can I do?
Right. Yep. Yep. For sure. And so I think we covered everything. I think
Yeah,
it's just a
absolutely.
matter of making sure that we're doing it. So let's review.
Yeah,
So number one in our three R's is reward. So after you achieve a goal, and not the super small goals, but even a moderate size goal, but certainly the bigger goals, is you want to reward yourself. You want to anchor the feeling. You want to anchor and reward it so that way you're motivated to do it again or to continue on.
absolutely. Number two, you want to recharge. You want to take time to rest. On a daily basis, we should be doing this, but also after we achieve those big goals, we should be making that time to recharge our batteries, maintain a little bit of activity during that active rest concept, but
Yep.
taking that time to really cool off.
And the last one is the renew. And this is talking about renew your goals, renewing what you want to accomplish and setting new goals. So that way you continue the achievement. And so the reason why it's number 3 is it needs to be in that sequential order, that you start with 1, you go to 2, and now you're ready for 3. And then you're setting new goals.
Absolutely. And that wraps up this episode of the Achieve Results Now podcast. Go achieve those goals so you can put these things into effect. Share this with somebody who would benefit from it. And we will see you on the next show.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Hop over to our website at www.achieveresultsnow.com to get your free copy of our book, Ignite Results, 4 specific daily actions to help you achieve results now. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Achieve Results Now. Thanks for listening, commenting, and subscribing. Now get out there and achieve results now.